The grand throne room of the Korthax Empire shimmered with holographic stars that floated between massive pillars of black crystal. Princess Vera stood before her father's throne, her silver skin reflecting the light like polished metal. Her forearms were crossed in a gesture of defiance that everyone in the court recognized. At 7 feet tall, she cut an imposing figure even among her own people. "You cannot be serious, father," Vera said, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. "A human? You want me to marry a human?" Emperor Korthax leaned forward on his throne, his ancient eyes showing no emotion. "The trade routes through human space will save our outer colonies 3 months of travel time. This marriage secures those routes permanently, but they are weak," Vera protested. "They have no claws, no natural armor, no strength. They can barely survive on half the planets in the galaxy without special suits." The court erupted in whispers and barely concealed laughter. Everyone knew about humans. They were the galaxy's newest spacefaring race, having only achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. While other species had evolved powerful bodies, deadly natural weapons, or incredible abilities, humans were soft, fragile creatures who needed tools for everything. "The decision is final," the Emperor declared. "The human representative arrives tomorrow. You will marry him within 7 days, as tradition demands." Vera's cousin, Prince Zarek, stepped forward from the crowd. His scaled hide rippled with amusement. "Perhaps the human can carry your bags, cousin. I hear they make excellent servants, being so used to using tools for everything they cannot do naturally." More laughter filled the chamber. Vera felt her face burn with shame. She was a warrior princess who had led fleet battles and conquered pirate strongholds. Now she would be bound to some weak alien who probably couldn't even open a standard airlock without mechanical assistance. "I will obey, father," Vera said through clenched teeth. "But know that I take no joy in this." She turned and strode from the throne room, her ceremonial cape billowing behind her. The whispers and jokes followed her all the way to the doors. The next morning, Vera stood at the palace landing platform, watching a small human ship descend from the cloudy sky. The vessel was typically human in design, no organic curves or living metal like superior species used. Just flat surfaces and right angles, everything purely functional. The ship's ramp lowered with a mechanical whine. A single figure emerged and walked down to meet them. Vera studied him with disappointment. The human male was exactly what she had expected. He stood barely 6 feet tall with dark hair cut short and brown eyes that seemed unremarkable compared to her own golden irises. He wore a simple gray uniform with no decoration except a small earth insignia on the collar. "Princess Vera," the human said, bowing correctly according to Korthax custom. "I am Sam Chen, trade representative of Earth Colony 7. I am honored to meet you." His voice was calm and steady. Vera noticed he had pronounced her name correctly, which most aliens struggled with. Still, she felt nothing but irritation at this whole situation. "Representative Chen," she replied coldly. "Welcome to Korthax Prime. I trust your journey was comfortable?" "Very comfortable, thank you." "Your father's invitation was most gracious." Vera wanted to tell him exactly what she thought of her father's invitation, but protocol demanded civility. "Follow me. I will show you to your quarters." As they walked through the palace corridors, Vera noticed how the human's eyes moved constantly, taking in everything. The guards at each doorway, the security cameras, the layout of the passages. It reminded her of how prey animals watched for predators, always alert for danger. "The palace is very beautiful," Sam commented. "I particularly admire the way the architecture incorporates natural crystal formations with the built structures." "It has stood for 3,000 years, Vera said curtly. "Long before humans knew there were other worlds." "Indeed," Sam agreed easily. "We have much to learn from older civilizations." His calm acceptance of humanity's inferior position annoyed Vera more than arrogance would have. At least if he had shown some pride, she could have enjoyed crushing it. This quiet acknowledgement of weakness just emphasized how pathetic this match was. They reached the guest wing, and Vera gestured to an ornate door. "These will be your quarters until the wedding. The ceremony will be in 6 days. I suggest you use the time to learn our customs so you do not embarrass yourself." "I will do my best," Sam said. "Princess Vera, may I speak plainly?" She raised an eyebrow ridge. "Speak." "I understand this arrangement is not what you would have chosen. I want you to know I take no offense at your coldness. This is a political necessity for both our peoples, nothing more. I will try not to be a burden to you. Vera stared at him for a moment. She had expected pleading or attempts at romance or at least some effort to win her over. This matter-of-fact acceptance of the situation was unexpected. "Good," she said finally. "Then we understand each other. The servants will bring you appropriate clothing for tomorrow's feast. Try not to spill food on yourself. The court already has enough reasons to laugh." She turned and walked away before he could respond. The next evening, the Great Hall was filled with the elite of Korthak society. Representatives from allied worlds had also arrived to witness the unusual marriage. The air buzzed with conversation in a dozen languages, all discussing the same thing: the warrior princess being wed to a member of the galaxy's weakest species. Vera sat at the high table, trying to ignore the stares and whispers. Sam sat beside her, dressed in Korthak's formal wear that had been adjusted for his smaller frame. He ate carefully with the three-pronged utensils, managing not to embarrass himself despite the unfamiliar food. "Tell me, human," said General Krell from across the table, his tusks gleaming. "How does your species hunt? I assume you must use those tools of yours, having no natural weapons." "We use various methods," Sam replied calmly. "Persistence hunting was common in our early history. We would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion." The table erupted in laughter. "Chase?" Krell scoffed. "With those tiny legs? How could you catch anything?" "We cannot match most animals for speed," Sam admitted. "But humans can run for hours without stopping. Most prey animals sprint quickly but tire fast. We simply follow at a steady pace until they can run no more." "Ridiculous," another guest declared. "What kind of hunting is that?" "No honor, no real combat." Vera felt her embarrassment deepen. Even their hunting methods were pathetic. She reached for her wine goblet, wanting something to dull the shame. That was when General Thorn of the Reza Confederation stood up. The massive warrior's cybernetic implants glowed as he raised his voice to address the entire hall. "I invoke the ancient right," Thorn declared. "The hunter's challenge." The room fell silent. Vera's blood turned cold. She had forgotten about that outdated law. "I claim the right to challenge for the princess's hand," Thorn continued. "Let any warrior who believes himself worthy face the human. If he falls, the victor may claim the bride." "The law is ancient but valid," Emperor Korthak said from his throne, though he looked troubled. "Does anyone else wish to issue challenge?" One by one, figures stood throughout the hall. Warriors, assassins, and champions from every major species. Vera counted in growing horror. 19 challengers in total. Each one was legendary in their own right. These were not mere soldiers, but the deadliest fighters in known space. She looked at Sam, expecting to see terror on his face. Instead, he was carefully wiping his mouth with a napkin, his expression thoughtful. "Representative Chen," the Emperor said formally, "you have been challenged by 19 warriors for the right to marry my daughter. By law, you may decline and return to your world in peace." Sam stood slowly, adjusting his formal jacket. The room held its breath. "I accept all 19 challenges," he said clearly. The hall exploded in noise. Laughter, shouts of disbelief, and the sound of credits changing hands as bets were placed. No one wagered on the human lasting past the first fight. "You fool," Vera hissed at him. "They will destroy you. Take my father's offer and flee." Sam turned to her with those calm brown eyes. "Your Highness, fleeing would damage Earth's reputation and destroy any chance of the trade agreement." "I must try." "Try?" Vera felt anger rise in her chest. "You will die." "And I will still be forced to marry whichever brute wins. Your heroics accomplish nothing." "Perhaps," Sam said. "But I would like to request traditional rules. Each challenger may choose the nature of their contest. Battles continue until submission or death. Is this acceptable?" General Thorn laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "The human wants traditional rules? So be it. Who wishes to destroy him first?" A massive figure pushed through the crowd. Gorvak the Crusher. A warrior from a high-gravity world whose people were known for strength that could bend steel barehanded. His body was like a mountain of muscle covered in thick gray hide. "I will begin," Gorvak rumbled. "I choose the contest of grip. We shall squeeze the sacred orbs until one breaks or surrenders." Servants quickly brought out 2 spheres made of pressure-sensitive crystal. They would glow brighter the more force was applied, and would crack if squeezed too hard. It was a simple test of pure hand strength. The crowd formed a circle around the competitors. Vera watched in sick fascination as Sam picked up his orb, his human hand looking tiny compared to Gorvak's massive fist. "Begin," shouted the referee. Gorvak immediately squeezed with tremendous force. His orb blazed with white light, and cracks began to appear on its surface. The crowd cheered, expecting Sam's orb to shatter instantly. But something strange happened. Sam's orb glowed steadily. Not as bright as Gorvak's, but the light was even and controlled. He wasn't trying to match the alien's raw power. Instead, his fingers moved in tiny adjustments, finding the exact points of maximum efficiency. Minutes passed. Gorvak's face showed strain as he poured more power into his grip. His orb was covered in a web of cracks now, on the verge of breaking. Sam's orb remained steady, glowing at the same moderate level. "What trickery is this?" Gorvak snarled. "No trick," Sam said calmly. "You are using maximum force constantly. I am using only what is needed, adjusting my grip to distribute pressure evenly. Your hand muscles are already beginning to cramp from the sustained effort." Gorvak's eyes widened as he realized the human was right. His mighty hand was beginning to tremble and spasm. He tried to maintain his grip, but the cramps spread through his fingers like fire. With a roar of pain and frustration, Gorvak dropped his orb. It hit the floor and shattered into pieces. Sam gently set his own orb down, intact and still faintly glowing. "I yield," Gorvak gasped, holding his cramped hand. The hall was silent for a moment, then erupted in chaos. How had a human defeated one of the strongest beings in the galaxy? "Look!" someone shouted. "Pure chance. I am next." A lithe figure leaped into the circle. This was Silex, a Selathi assassin whose species possessed reaction times faster than most computers. "I choose the blade dance. First to draw blood wins." The weapons were brought. Traditional Selathi fighting blades, curved and razor-sharp. Vera knew Silex had never lost a blade duel. The assassin could move so fast that observers often saw only a blur. Sam accepted his blade, testing its weight and balance. He held it competently but without the fluid grace of a master. Vera closed her eyes, not wanting to watch the slaughter. "Begin!" The sound of metal on metal rang out faster than thought. Vera's eyes snapped open to see Silex attacking in a whirlwind of strikes, each one capable of severing limbs. But somehow, impossibly, Sam was blocking them. Not with speed, he was clearly slower than the Selathi, but his blade was always exactly where it needed to be, using minimal movement to deflect each strike. "How?" Silex hissed, increasing the tempo of attacks. Sam didn't answer, too focused on defense. Vera studied his technique and began to understand. He wasn't reacting to Silex's attacks. He was predicting them. Every species had patterns in how they fought, unconscious habits in their movements. Sam had identified Silex's patterns and was moving before each strike began. The assassin grew frustrated, attacks becoming wilder. That was the mistake Sam had been waiting for. As Silex overextended on a particularly vicious slash, Sam stepped inside the arc, brought his elbow up into the assassin's wrist, and sent the blade flying. His own sword stopped an inch from Silex's throat. "But I am faster," Silex protested. "Speed without prediction is just reaction," Sam said, lowering his blade. "I studied recordings of Selathi combat forms during my journey here. Your species has beautiful techniques, but they follow patterns based on your anatomy. Do you yield?" "I yield," Silex said with disgust. 2 challengers defeated. The crowd's laughter had died away, replaced by uncertain murmurs. Vera found herself leaning forward, studying this strange human who fought without fighting, who won without overwhelming force. The next challenger was already stepping forward, a cybernetic warrior whose mechanical parts could calculate millions of combat scenarios per second. Behind him, 16 more waited their turn. Sam faced them all with the same calm expression, and Vera realized something that sent a chill through her silver skin. He wasn't afraid, not because he was brave or foolish, but because he had already calculated his chances and found them acceptable. What kind of species produced such beings, and what had the galaxy overlooked in dismissing humans as weak? As the cybernetic warrior announced his challenge, a test of reaction time, Vera found herself hoping, just slightly, that Sam would survive to face the next opponent. She wanted to understand how a creature with no natural weapons, no armor, no great strength or speed, could stand against the galaxy's greatest killers. The night was far from over, and with each contest, the mystery only deepened. The cybernetic warrior stood in the center of the circle, his mechanical eyes glowing red in the dim light of the great hall. Half of his body was organic flesh, the other half pure machinery. His name was Nexus 7, and his brain could process combat data faster than any organic being. "I choose the reaction test," Nexus 7 announced, his voice both organic and electronic. "We stand 20 paces apart. When the signal sounds, we draw and fire. First to hit wins." Energy pistols were brought out, set to stun but still capable of causing severe pain. Vera knew Nexus 7's mechanical reflexes gave him a draw time of less than 1/10 of a second. No organic being had ever beaten him. Sam checked his weapon carefully, then took his position. The crowd pressed closer, eager to see how the human would handle this impossible challenge. The referee raised his hand. "Ready?" Vera watched Sam closely. He wasn't looking at Nexus 7's weapon hand. Instead, his eyes were focused on the cyborg's shoulder joint where organic met mechanical. "Begin." The signal sounded. Nexus 7's hand moved in a blur toward his weapon, but Sam was already dropping to one knee, his motion starting a fraction of a second before the signal. His shot rang out while Nexus 7's weapon was still clearing its holster. The energy bolt struck the cyborg in the chest, sending him stumbling backward. The crowd gasped. The referee checked the recording, then made his announcement. The human moved before the signal. "Disqualification!" "Check again," Sam said calmly. "I moved before the signal, but I did not touch my weapon until after. The rules state we draw and fire after the signal. They say nothing about other movements." The referee reviewed the recording in slow motion. Indeed, Sam had begun dropping to his knee early, but his hand didn't touch the pistol until after the signal sounded. By moving his body first, he had saved precious milliseconds. "But how did you know when to move?" Nexus 7 demanded, his systems running diagnostics to understand his failure. "Your cybernetic parts run on predictable cycles," Sam explained. "I counted the micro-adjustments in your shoulder joint. They occur every 2.3 seconds as your systems recalibrate. I timed my movement to coincide with a recalibration cycle, when your reaction time would be slowest by approximately 15 milliseconds. 15 milliseconds, Nexus 7 said in disbelief. "You based your strategy on 15 milliseconds?" "It was enough," Sam replied simply. The cyborg bowed his head. "I yield to superior tactical analysis." 3 victories. The crowd was no longer laughing. Vera noticed several of the remaining challengers exchanging uncertain glances. What had seemed like easy glory was becoming something else entirely. A massive shape pushed through the crowd. This was Thok, a silicon-based life form whose body was living rock. His species could survive in the vacuum of space and shrug off energy weapons like rain. "Enough games," Thok rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. "I challenge you to withstand pain. We shall place our hands on the pain stone. First to remove their hand loses." The pain stone was brought out, an ancient artifact that sent waves of agony through anyone who touched it. The longer the contact, the worse the pain became. Vera had seen hardened warriors scream after mere seconds of contact. Sam studied the stone with interest. "Fascinating. It appears to work by directly stimulating nerve endings. May I have a moment to prepare?" "Take all the time you need, human," Thok laughed. "It will not help." Sam closed his eyes and began taking slow, measured breaths. His posture shifted subtly, muscles relaxing in a specific pattern. When he opened his eyes, something had changed. They seemed focused on something beyond the room. Both competitors placed their hands on the stone. Immediately, Thok's rocky features showed satisfaction. He was largely immune to pain, his silicon nerves far less sensitive than organic ones. Sam's face remained completely neutral. As seconds turned to minutes, the crowd grew silent. The human showed no sign of distress. No trembling, no sweating, no change in breathing. "Impossible," someone whispered. "The stone causes agony beyond description." 5 minutes passed. 10. Thok's expression changed from confidence to confusion. His own hand was beginning to tremble, not from pain, but from the strain of maintaining contact with the stone's energy field. "What are you?" Thok demanded. "I am focusing on my breathing," Sam said, his voice steady. "Pain is a signal, nothing more. With proper mental discipline, one can acknowledge pain without being controlled by it. Your species may be resistant to pain, but you have never learned to truly master it." 15 minutes. Thok's hand was shaking violently now. The stone's energy was beginning to interfere with his silicon-based nervous system in ways he hadn't expected. With a roar of frustration, Thok yanked his hand away. "This is not natural. You feel nothing." "I feel everything," Sam corrected, removing his own hand and flexing his fingers. I simply choose not to let it control me. Do you yield? I yield, Thok said, staring at the human with something approaching fear. 4 down, 15 to go. But the nature of the challenges was changing. The warriors were beginning to take Sam seriously. The next several hours became a blur of contests, each designed to exploit what the challengers saw as human weakness. A telepath tried to overwhelm Sam's mind, only to find human thoughts were chaotic and multi-layered in ways that made them nearly impossible to grasp. An acid-blooded warrior challenged him to a contest of endurance in toxic environments. Not knowing humans had spent generations adapting to polluted worlds during their industrial age. Each victory revealed something new about humanity. When challenged to compete without technology, Sam demonstrated that humans had developed hundreds of ways to fight with nothing but their bodies. When faced with a shapeshifter who could become any form, Sam won by recognizing that every form had weaknesses, and humans had cataloged thousands of them. Vera found herself leaning forward with each contest, her earlier disdain replaced by genuine curiosity. She began to see patterns in how Sam approached each challenge. He never tried to match his opponent's strengths. Instead, he found ways to make those strengths irrelevant or even disadvantageous. By the time the 15th challenger admitted defeat, the crowd's mood had shifted completely. The laughter and mockery were gone, replaced by tense silence and worried whispers. How was this possible? How could the galaxy's weakest species produce such a warrior? Only 4 challengers remained, and they huddled together in heated discussion. Vera could see fear in their eyes now. These were beings who had never known defeat, faced with something they didn't understand. Finally, 3 of them stepped back, leaving only one figure standing. The crowd gasped as they recognized who would make the final challenge: Korak the Void Walker. He was Death-given form, an assassin so lethal that entire systems paid tribute to keep him away. His species could phase between dimensions, becoming untouchable, while still able to strike at enemies. He had killed kings, generals, and heroes beyond counting. Even seeing him in person was considered bad luck. I tire these games, Korak said, his voice seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere. I challenge you to mortal combat. No rules, no limits. Until one of us is dead. The Emperor himself stood up. Korak, tradition allows for submission. Death is not required. I require it, Korak replied coldly. The human has humiliated the galaxy's greatest warriors. Either he dies or I do. There will be no middle ground. Sam stood quietly for a moment, then nodded. I accept. No. The word escaped Vera's lips before she could stop it. Everyone turned to stare at her, including Sam. She felt heat rise in her face but pressed on. This is murder, not a challenge. Father, stop this. I cannot, the Emperor said sadly. The law is clear. The challenged may accept or refuse. Representative Chen, you may still withdraw. With respect, Your Majesty, I cannot, Sam said. To refuse now would be seen as cowardice. Earth's reputation would be destroyed. He turned to Vera. Your concern is appreciated, Princess, but unnecessary. Vera wanted to argue further, but bit her tongue. Why did she care if this human died? Yesterday she had wanted nothing to do with him. But watching him face impossible odds with such calm determination had stirred something in her. Respect, perhaps. Or something more. The crowd moved back, creating a large circle. Korak drew his weapons, twin blades of dark metal that seemed to drink in light. Energy crackled along their edges, capable of cutting through any known armor. Sam picked up a simple staff from the weapon rack, testing its weight and balance. The crowd murmured in disbelief. A wooden stick against the galaxy's deadliest assassin? Begin, the referee shouted, then quickly retreated to safety. Korak vanished. It wasn't speed or invisibility. He simply stopped existing in normal space, phasing into the void between dimensions. From there, he could strike without warning, appearing just long enough to kill before vanishing again. Sam stood perfectly still in the center of the circle, staff held in a ready position. His eyes were closed. A blade materialized behind him, slashing at his spine. Sam pivoted, bringing his staff up to block. The blade cut through the wood like paper, but the deflection was enough to turn a killing blow into a miss. Korak vanished again before Sam could counterattack. You cannot fight what you cannot touch, human. Korak's voice echoed from nowhere. I can strike 1,000 times. You need only fail once. Another attack, this time from the side. Sam barely managed to dodge. the blade leaving a shallow cut on his arm. Blood ran down his sleeve, the first anyone had drawn from him all night. Vera gripped her chair arms tightly. This was different from the other contests. This was true combat, and Korak held every advantage. The assassin began a pattern of strikes, each from a different angle, each nearly impossible to predict. Sam defended desperately, his broken staff growing shorter with each exchange. Soon he would have nothing left to block with. Then Sam did something unexpected. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small pouch. As Korak materialized for another strike, Sam threw the pouch into the air above them. It burst open, releasing a cloud of fine metallic dust that hung glittering in the air. Korak's next phase was different. As he moved through the void space, the dust particles reacted, creating a faint outline of his passage. For the first time, his movement between dimensions was visible. Clever, Korak admitted, his outline shimmering in the dust cloud. But seeing me changes nothing. You still cannot touch me in the void. I don't need to, Sam replied. He had noticed something during the exchanges. Each time Korak phased back to strike, there was a pattern to where he appeared. The assassin preferred certain angles, certain distances. It was subtle, but it was there. The dance continued, but now Sam wasn't just defending. He was maneuvering, using his movements to guide where Korak would appear next. The assassin didn't realize he was being herded into a specific position. When Korak phased again, Sam was ready. Instead of defending, he struck at empty air, the exact spot where the assassin would materialize. His timing was perfect. The broken staff caught Korak in the throat just as he became solid, before he could bring his blades to bear. The assassin stumbled back, gasping. Sam pressed his advantage, striking pressure points with precise finger strikes. Each hit disrupted Korak's ability to phase, forcing him to remain solid. Impossible, Korak wheezed, trying to raise his blades. No one can predict the void walk. You're right, Sam said, sweeping the assassin's legs and sending him to the ground. But I wasn't predicting the void. I was predicting you. Every warrior has patterns, habits they don't even know they have. Yours took longer to identify, but they were there. Sam kicked the blades away and knelt beside the fallen assassin, hand raised for a killing strike. The crowd held its breath. Then Sam lowered his hand and helped Korak sit up instead. Why? Korak asked, genuine confusion in his voice. I would have killed you. Because killing you proves nothing except that I can kill, Sam replied. Showing mercy to a defeated enemy proves that humans are more than our reputation suggests. Do you yield? Korak looked at the human for a long moment, then bowed his head. I yield. And I was wrong. You are not weak. Your species is perhaps the most dangerous in the galaxy, because we never saw you coming. The hall erupted in chaos. 19 of the galaxy's greatest warriors had challenged a single human, and all 19 had been defeated. Not through superior strength or speed or natural weapons, but through intelligence, preparation, and understanding. Vera rose from her seat and walked into the circle. The crowd fell silent, watching their princess approach the bloodied but victorious human. You are not what you appear to be, she said. Sam met her gaze steadily. No, Your Highness, I am not. You're not really a trade representative, are you? I do handle trade negotiations, Sam said carefully. But that is not my primary role. Then what are you? Sam glanced at the Emperor, who nodded permission to speak freely. I am Colonel Samuel Chen, Earth Defense Force, Strategic Intelligence Division. When your father proposed this marriage alliance, our analysts predicted there was an 87% chance someone would invoke the Hunter's Challenge to claim your world's trading rights by claiming you. I was sent to prevent that. You knew this would happen, Vera said, understanding dawning. You prepared for it. We prepare for everything, Your Highness. It's how we survived when every other species wrote us off as prey. We studied every potential challenger, analyzed thousands of combat scenarios, prepared for every possible contest. Humans may not have claws or armor or acid blood, but we have something more dangerous. Which is, Sam tapped his temple, the ability to learn, adapt, and prepare. Every species in the galaxy evolved to be perfectly suited to their environment. Humans evolved on a world that kept trying to kill us in new ways. We learned to use our minds because it was the only weapon we had. Vera felt a chill run through her. If humanity could produce warriors like this, what else were they capable of? What other surprises were they hiding? So our marriage is a sham, she said. You fought for Earth's interests, not for me. I fought for both, Sam corrected. Earth needs allies and your empire is powerful. But I also fought because I believed you deserved better than being claimed like a prize by someone who saw you as property. And what do you see me as? Sam considered the question. I see a warrior who commands respect, a leader who puts her people first, and someone who has been underestimated by those who judge only by appearance. In that we have something in common. Vera studied him for a long moment. This human, this soldier, had defeated 19 legendary warriors not for glory or conquest, but to protect his people's interests and her freedom to choose. He had shown strength without cruelty, victory without arrogance. The marriage must still proceed, she said. The alliance is too important to both our peoples. I understand, Sam said. I will not be a burden to you, Princess. We can maintain separate lives while fulfilling our diplomatic duties. No, Vera said, surprising herself. I think we should make this partnership real. Your strategic mind and my political connections could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Besides, she allowed herself a small smile. I find I'm curious to learn more about these humans who hide such capabilities behind weak appearances. Sam returned the smile. I think that could be arranged. Though I should warn you, I'm just one of many. Earth has been preparing for full integration with galactic society for decades. This was merely the first demonstration. The Emperor stood and addressed the hall. Let all who witness this know that Earth and its humans are under the protection of the Korthax Empire. Any who would challenge them challenges us as well. As the crowd dispersed, buzzing with talk of what they had seen, Vera walked with Sam toward the medical station to tend his wounds. Tell me, she said, how many more surprises does Earth have planned? That would spoil the fun, Sam replied. But I will say this. Every species that dismissed us as weak and harmless is about to learn otherwise. We've been studying you all for 50 years, learning your strengths and weaknesses. Tonight was just the beginning. Vera felt excitement replace her earlier dread. A marriage to a weak human had seemed like punishment. But partnership with Earth's strategic warriors? That could be the key to power beyond imagination. As news of the night's events spread across the galaxy, applications for alliance with Earth increased 100-fold. The message was clear. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been their bodies. It had always been their minds. And now the galaxy's weakest species was ready to show what they could really do.